Is up, YouTube family? I got to tell you, you guys clicked on the right video because today, in about 20 minutes, actually 19 minutes from now, we are going to start learning brand new information about what I truly believe will be a world-changing, massive multiplayer online role-playing game that people just aren't ready for. What Gala Games is trying to do with Mirandus has literally never been attempted before. And what are they trying to do, you might ask? Well, good question. They are trying to create a simulation of the real world, a massive multiplayer online game with a real economy that players actually have true ownership rights in, and where the free market can reign supreme. So I am so excited as someone who has played a ton of massive multiplayer online games in the past, like World of Warcraft and Guild Wars, and grew up on those sorts of games. I am so excited to learn more about Mirandus. So in about 20 minutes, the fireside chat is starting, and I'm going to be taking notes, kind of showing like everything that I am learning as they reveal stuff. What I am hoping that we find out is release date, some more information on the release date. When is the full game? When can we expect it to actually come out? I know it's going to be a process. We're going to be probably looking at like deed owners getting access to an alpha and then a beta that has the blockchain switch turned off, meaning all the gameplay mechanics are in the game, but they're still balancing the economy, so it's not on the blockchain yet. But then the switch is eventually going to get turned on. When is that date going to be? I'm going to be looking out for that. Hopefully we can get some hints. And then the next thing I'm really looking forward to learn in this playtest number 2 is, in this fireside chat, is the information on the playtest. There's supposed to be something big, a massive playable experience for all of us to enjoy next month. In March is when they've been saying it's going to be ready. So I'm hoping to know just like some concrete information on one, how do we play, so that I can tell all of you guys, subscribers, how you can participate in this playtest if you want to be a part of it with the rest of us, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are curious about. So I'm guessing it's going to be similar to last playtest, where you're going to need to own an exemplar NFT before the cutoff date, and they're going to tell us like, okay, this is the date. You have to own an NFT by this date, and if you own an exemplar by that date, then you get access to the playtest, and you can also earn Materium in the playtest. But I'm just guessing and speculating here, so hopefully we learn the specific information, exactly how to play in this playtest. Also, I want to know how the earning quest is going to work. What exactly are we going to have to do in this playtest in order to get a Materium payout? This is something I really hope that we learn in this fireside chat. And then finally, regarding the playtest, I want to know exactly what the Materium payout is going to be. How much Materium are we going to be getting for a human exemplar that completes the quest, whatever the quest ends up being? How much Materium are we going to get for an elf or a halfling or a dwarf or an orc? I really want that broken down. Plus, it would be super cool. This might be asking a little bit too much here, but I would personally really appreciate, as a content creator who wants to give accurate information to my audience, if they gave us some information about how many more playtests they expect to happen before the full game's release, and how payouts are going to work for the future playtests as well. Because then we can do stuff like calculate forward what the supply of Materium, which is the coin that's powering the world of Mirandus, that's the magic inside the world of Mirandus, we can know what supply to expect when the game finally releases. So yeah, I really want to know more information about the Materium payouts going forward, or at the very least for this playtest that's happening in March. Next up, I'm looking forward to learning more about tavern games. I really hope, and I don't know like regulatory wise how this will work, but Mirandus is a game for adults, so I think it would be super cool cool if you could actually wager Materium and stuff when you're playing poker or other tavern games inside the tavern. And it could be a way for tavern owners to make a little bit, for Gala to make a little bit, and for adventurers who have just come away from maybe a bad raid or a super good raid that want to double down or lose their hours of hard-earned gameplay by risking that Materium and tavern games. So I hope we learn more about tavern games. New hires, every single one of these fireside chats, it seems like Gala has new people, and like they're bringing on top AAA quality like talent. They're stealing people from like World of Warcraft and Bethesda, like from the biggest game studios, and it's really exciting. So I would love to see if maybe there's some new hires that Mirandus has picked up recently that we can learn about, new game mechanics. Hopefully they give us a new trailer. The last fireside chat, they leaked us a trailer, so I'm hoping we get a new trailer, and then more leaks as well. So that is what I'm going to be looking out for in this fireside chat that's about to happen. But now, quickly, we have about 14 minutes, which is what I was hoping. I was actually hoping we had 15 minutes at this point. I want to go over, I have some clips prepared. I want to just go over in a little bit of a more like basic or overview, expansive sense, everything that we have learned so far in this path. Kind of look at the journey that's happened so far for Mirandus, so that you guys can see like how far we've come. This is a game that many of us in the community have already been hyped for about 2 years. So this is a game that's 2 years in the making and will probably be at least another 2 years in the making. So for anyone who's new, hopefully you guys will appreciate this little look at where Mirandus started and where it's going.
Name is Mike.
All right, here we go.
Hello, my name is Michael McCarthy, and I am the game director of Mirandus, a Gala Games production. Mirandus is a fantasy MMO, which is bringing true adventure back to players. We are creating a dangerous world where death has penalties. We aren't going to tell you what to do or give you a map. You won't find a bestiary on our website. The world is a complete secret for players to explore and share, or not. Mirandus is an exclusive world. Only the finest warriors, crafters, and explorers will have access. For you to play, you must either own or rent an exemplar. An exemplar is your avatar, set in the classic fantasy races of human, halfling, dwarf, orc, and elf. Each exemplar is imbued with special powers, which will help them navigate and conquer. The economy of the world is completely player-driven. If you see a town, it's because a player placed it there. Everything you equip has been crafted by a fellow adventurer. The entire game is powered by blockchain. Blockchain technology finally allows players to own their own content. Blockchain technology allows us to guarantee something is rare. For instance, there are only 1,000 elven exemplars in the entire game, period. If you craft a magic sword, it's yours to equip, trade, sell, inside or outside of the game. The most powerful substance in the game is Materium. It is true magic. All magical acts will use Materium. If you die and want to come back without penalty, you can use Materium. Cast a spell, complete a craft without all the ingredients, teleport an item to a faraway location. Everything magic means you are using Materium. Where is Materium found? On monsters, in chests, and in secret locations throughout the world. Who is making Mirandus? Gala Games has gathered a team of industry veterans responsible for some of the most played and loved games in history. We continue to build the foundational tech and extend content. We release playtests regularly. You must have an exemplar to play, and we award players for helping us test. From me and the entire team, thank you. We are working hard to make this the greatest MMO of all time. We look forward to seeing you guys in there. Thank you.
So yeah, I think just that summary there gives you an idea. It kind of makes chills run down my spine. If they can actually pull off a digital simulation of the real world with an economy that's real, like guys, this is a bigger step towards the oasis that's described in the book Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This is a bigger step towards that than even virtual reality in my mind. And it's a bigger step towards realism, definitely, when you actually own stuff in game world. So I want to quickly just go over 2 stills from the clip that we just watched and just like point out how crazy this is. So this is the first still, and for anyone who's just joining, guys, the new fireside chat's going to be starting in about 9 minutes. So that's going to be starting in a second, and I'm going to be taking notes of that live on this channel. So we're going to be hearing from the master of Materium himself, the Mirandus master, the main developer. But just look at these games, guys. So we start here: Starfleet Academy, Fallout. Some of these games, I'm just not going to name all of them, but just some of the ones that are like really sticking out to me. Arcanum, that's one of the first RPGs, big RPGs, successful, really well-received RPGs that Michael McCarthy, the lead developer of this game, made in his early years as a game developer. But as people that are excited about MMOs, I know some of these games that you guys are going to be noticing right away is right here down at the bottom. All of the World of Warcraft games, developers from every single one of these games working on Mirandus. We have Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I really liked that game. It was fun. I love Star Wars. Fallout New Vegas. All the Star Wars games all the Fallout games are just absolutely amazing. Some high quality Disney games here: Battlefield, Batman, Ghost in a Shell, Transformers, The Walking Dead, just Uncharted 4, The Last of Us. I mean, can you get like a more amazing group of developers than this behind like just such a kind of earth-shattering type of what they're trying to do? Is just crazy. I think most studios just wouldn't even try to do something that's this insane. But then the second thing that I want to show off, the second little still from this trailer that we just watched, is this one. Because it's been so interesting watching the development of Mirandus, because this is a look that most games don't give us. Traditional Web 2 games, they don't let us see the games early on in development. No game studio would have shown Q2 2021 gameplay. It looked horrible. The NFT market for Mirandus crashed after this playtest because they were so early in development. But they've wanted us as deed owners, as people who actually own the economy and are kind of partners with Gala in a way. They wanted us to see the game as it's progressed. So then we've just seen it improve so much. Q3 was a big step forward, but still you can see these big blocky trees, big blocky clouds. Then Q4 was a big step forward of 2021, and then in last year in 2022 we had the Goblin Grove, which was really cool. So now the next step forward that we're gonna see in this playtest in March, I have a feeling it might just be amazing. But now I actually want to show you guys one last clip before we get to the fireside chat starting in 6 minutes here from a playtest in Q3 of 2022. I'm going to show you a clip from this playtest because I think it does a really good job both showing you why I'm so excited for this game, and then 2, how smart these developers are in their creation of the game. And I was like watching through some of these old playtests in preparation for this live stream, and I was like, yeah, I definitely want to show this off, because this is just like, it was such a cool moment in gaming, in my opinion. So let's check out this clip, and then the next thing we're going to be checking out, guys, is the brand new fireside chat with all the brand new leaks from the developers of Mirandus in about 5 minutes. I can see the potential in Mirandus, like the mechanics, but the graphics are just really not my taste. There's so many shadow glitches. Hope to see that fixed. Okay, so guys, the things like shadow glitches, you do not need to worry about. This is the second ever stress test for this game. Literally, the purpose of us being in the world right now are for us to try to break as many things as possible. Gala Games is doing something different than most AAA game studios would do. Most AAA game studios would not let us see the progress of the game this early on. But yeah, shadow glitches and stuff, don't worry about that. As far as like the style, where like you can see kind of the blockiness of it, that is actually really, really brilliant design because of two things. One, it allows for very fast iteration by the development team. And because they're trying to do so many insane technical things on the like player ownership, economic side, on like the rarity, and trying to make like an actual simulation of the real world, it's important that they don't have to spend 10 hours, you know, coloring in the smallest detail of an avatar that's not actually going to look human-like in the end anyway. It's just going to look creepy. The fact that they make it blocky means they can do much faster iterations of the game itself. And that means that there's going to be way more mechanics that can be tested. Like, this thing can be expanded much faster. And also the level of detail can be much better, because in the world of Mirandus, any NFTs that you have equipped to your avatar are going to literally show up. So if you have 10 rings on all 10 of your fingers, literally all 10 of those rings will show on each of the fingers. And it's the simplicity that allows them to go into actually much greater detail, and have yeah, it's going to be cool. But then the second thing, why they decided to go with this art style instead of like an Unreal Engine 5 type thing.
It has improved a lot since this, by the way, though, guys, and it will keep improving.
Much better for the imagination, and like Minecraft kind of proved that. When the world can truly be like actually affected by you, and like everything in the game is an actual like tangible thing, which this type of graphics allows to happen, then you start to get these much cooler worlds like Minecraft, these open worlds where you can interact with the environment, you can interact with every single thing that you see, and it makes it feel that much more immersive to be inside of it. And the human imagination is incredible, and I would rather see something like this and imagine the story, the world behind it, have that much depth in the game itself, rather than an artist spending all this time making a very strange looking, it still looks kind of weird, but it's harder for my imagination to work on. Like, that makes it harder for me to get immersed. I think worlds like this are going to be much easier to get immersed in.
So that's just the clip that I wanted to show you guys about like one of the things that Mirandus developers chose to do at the very beginning, and I think it was a smart design choice. They chose simplicity first so that they could add so much depth to the game. It is the simplicity that allows for the complexity of game mechanics, the speed of iteration, and I think it was a really smart move. Now, obviously, there's other game studios that are doing stuff like Star Atlas, where they're going for graphical realism in Unreal Engine 5. I think that's a fine strategy as well. Personally, I think I'm going to enjoy playing Mirandus more, and I think the game's just going to be deeper. Like, it's going to actually be deeper, because visually, they're focused on like adding 100 bosses instead of perfectly poly shading every pixel of one boss. But that is that, guys. Here we go. The Mirandus live stream is now up. If you guys would prefer, you can also watch this stream on the Gala Games YouTube channel directly, but you don't have to go anywhere if you don't want to, because like I said, I'm going to be taking some notes here as they present everything. I'm also going to have the Mirandus Discord here in the bottom left corner, so you guys can follow along there. And this should hopefully be just a really, really fun time, guys. I can barely contain my own excitement here. I'm trying to be the neutral commentator or whatever, but actually I'm just a kid in a candy shop right now who's just really excited for this next playtest. And I think, just like you guys, I'm just here on the edge of my seat, and I cannot wait for whatever information we're about to get. And here we go, boys.
Everybody,
There they are.
how's it going? I'm here with many of the wonderful developers on Mirandus. Don, have you been here before?
I have, yes. Was it on the left?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We have a lot to share today.
Ooh, yes.
I know you guys in Discord were asking, am I feeling leaky? I think I don't know, this is kind of informy, but it might be leaky as well. Might be leaky and informy. It's mostly the progress, guys. We have been working extremely hard to take everything that you've seen before to the next level, take the development to the next level, really start building Mirandus and fulfilling the promise, if you will. So let's dig right into it. First thing I would love to talk to you guys about is tavern games. So we are going to launch another tech test, the final tech test of tavern games next week. We really could use your help because we put in a lot of new features into it just to shore it up, I think, and to make it more well-rounded, to have it be the platform we need it to be to keep adding more games. So Manuel, can you run everyone through the awesomeness of tavern gamey stuff?
For sure. Let's do it. So, guys, basically, one of the big things to make this an actual platform of minigames is to start integrating blockchain into it. So what we got now is we're actually reading your account and we are granting you free coppers based on the items that you guys already have. One of the ones we're super excited is the Vox. So if you have Vox, you are going to get coppers. If you have a cruel fate, fate is not so cruel. Fate is not so cruel.
It's back.
I know. And just one thing to keep in mind, like all this is tunable. It doesn't mean that one item is better than the other. Like we're just trying to reward you guys for, you have your items and they do mean something and they're important in the game and they have a use in the game. Another one. So one of the things that we also did was we pretty much have a pretty big revamp of the art. And even if it's subtle, like the dice are new. The ones that we had before, all that was pretty much proof of concept. So now, we have dice that feel magical and that feel like they are in the world of Mirandus. And the cool thing about the dice now, as you'll see, is they're actually they animate better because they're not animated. We're actually using the Unity physics engine. And the reason why it's important is we were thinking if we want to make this an immersive experience and perhaps maybe you guys emote, you guys slam the table, if you guys interact with the world, it'd be cool if the dice also kind of jiggle, stuff like that. So the dice are all, they're all fully Unity physics. And on top of the dice, we did update just like the UI flow, just in general. We're pretty far from like a first user experience for TUI. But we are thinking about how the world is. So the tavern that we have now, how else can we beautify it? Not adding a lot of things, just making it really feel how it will feel in Mirandus. So the paint over here just sort of helps us, what's the least amount of detail we can add to make it really feel like it's a lived-in world. I kind of mentioned the foundations of emotes. We also have a tooltip system now. So if you hover over the buttons, it's going to give you tooltips. A super cool feature that we have now is you can basically play 3/8 Snake with your keyboard. So you don't even need to click anymore. If you just hit the space bar, you're going to be able to ready roll. And if you just hit your 1, 2, 3, that's how you select the dice. So you will be able to win and lose coppers faster, which I find is pretty fun. And we have begun developing and exploring our next 2 games. One of them is it's a Wheel of Fate, spin the wheel, win or lose coppers. And we actually have that one working already. And our card game. So the card game, we're hoping for in Q2.
People have spoken, by the way. We asked you guys, right? We asked you guys, what did you really want to do in the tavern?
Yep. card games. That's all. That was the number one request, besides the other two funny ones of throwing the elf and throwing the dwarf, which I still don't quite understand. But yeah, so like the cards look awesome. All this is in Unity. Like that's a straight screenshot from the game. And the cool thing is Todd, our superstar engineer for Tavern Games, has done so many of these mini games before at Zynga and as a contractor, and he's already written some code for cards and stuff. So it's gonna be very fun. And just more general development of why we're only gonna have Three-Eyed Snake right now before we have like the super cool games is we really kind of revamp everything in the back end. I mean, it sounds kind of boring, but for this to actually be the platform that we need, like now the fixed build server is kind of stable. Before, we basically had to launch a whole new build every time we wanted to update something live. Things like monitor how we see the logs, the processes. We had Todd created the bot system to basically play Three-Eyed Snake for days. So we had hundreds of bots switching out the taverns, switching out the multiplier, the wage, the tavern fee. They were changing their dice. So we're basically at the point when we just need you guys to play this and break what you guys will break just naturally, so then we can have the full lunch.
Jason put a personal guarantee on it. There's no chances of
What? Come on, man. Last time we ran for 36 hours, and out of the 36 hours, we were down 3 times for 5 hours. I
not
guarantee
bad.
nothing. No
dramatic
guarantee.
improvement. This is going to be a dramatic improvement.
It's
I'm
gonna be
sure.
great.
Jason, remind everybody too, one of the things that I'm always conscious of, guys, is, we are building Mirandus, and playing games in the tavern and getting together as a social community is really important. And we're hoping to give you guys a taste of that prior to Mirandus going live. But the technology and a lot of what we're doing here in building helps us actually test Mirandus. Jason, can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the reason we're doing Tavern Games is partly because we want you guys to be able to play with some of the stuff that you own, and you own it. But part of it is that we want to be able to test all of the parts of the important technology that we've been putting in place for Mirandus before Mirandus comes out and it falls on its face, right? So we want Tavern Games to fall on its face. I think we already did that. So we're going to try and make it a little bit less fall on its face and a little bit more kick-ass. So it's exactly the same tech. It literally runs the same data center, the same servers, the same code. It's all the same things. And it just so happens that you're playing with mostly the same wallet and a lot of the same information, but you're going to a slightly different process. But it's all the same thing. So everything that we add there for Tavern Games is actually being added for Mirandus. Everything, all the support, there's a ton of like customer support logs and chat logs and all these other things that need to be built. Database saving routines to do backups and restores and ways for us to help people whenever they get broken. These are all going to be developed under.
Essentially, guys, they're saying a lot of technical stuff, but being able to test all this technical stuff means the full game, when it comes out, way smoother
than that. So all of those things are being built in parallel because Mirandus is a huge game and it's going to take a long time for us to build it all. So being able to put something out there and kind of get into the routine of live ops is really important. And that process takes a while, especially for a relatively new company. And every team's a little bit different. Our tech stack is different. The way we operate is a little bit different. So it's important for us to get out there and get ahead of it.
Let me answer this question because I see you guys talking about it in the Mirandus discussion. Right now, the way rewards will work, your daily copper rewards, is just you owning one gets you the reward. If you own 2, it does not get you more. So every player that logs in, unique player, if you have one of those things, you get a little checkbox and you get extra coppers every, is it 6 hours, Memo?
I think it's 6, right, Jason?
It is right now. We can change it. If we need it to be more, we can make it more or less or whatever.
Pretty sure it's 6.
Right. You guys were asking about stacking. So, that would kind of break the game if you acquired, an unbelievable number of coppers because you have an unbelievable number of Discord rate.
It's per account. It's not per exemplar.
That's right. So it's, and also too, one thing I want to remind everyone is you do not need an exemplar to play Tavern Games. Anyone can play, guys. So we think that's kind of fun too. Mirandus is going to require you to have that exemplar, but Tavern Games anyone can pop into, and that'll be kind of fun. There's going to be a bit of an award too to the top 10 copper earners next week when we go live, and I think we're going to try to keep it up. What, Jace, for a week or 2 weeks, or?
I thought it was going to be 2 days, but I mean, if we got to stretch it to a week, okay.
Well, let's keep it up for a couple days, and we'll keep you guys posted. We probably, if there's any additional we need to learn, we'll keep it up longer. But I'm pretty open. What are we going to do?
We're gonna make it stick up for a week. I mean, if something horrible goes wrong, we're gonna pull it down. We're gonna fix it. We're gonna put it back up. But we're aiming for a week, and if we can stretch it out further, and everything seems like it's running, we'll keep it running. I mean, that's the whole point of Tavern Games, is to verify that the servers are doing the things that the server's supposed to do. Rockstar Todd fixed a whole bunch of things that are definitely problems that we experienced previously. So we think that it's going to run pretty well.
I'm inclined to keep it at a week no matter what, because giving out these awards, people might push pretty hard to get the coppers over the line by a certain date. It might be confusing if we push it longer. So we're going to keep it up for a week, guys. And the top 10 copper earners are going to get one of these. Yes, it is an official Mirandus super sweet tavern mug. We have them on the team. Let's go. They're awesome. So sweet. Yours is coming. It's checks in the mail, Jace. Look, they're super sweet, man. I love it. We have them on the team. In the top 10 people, we're going to mail it out to you, and you too shall have an unbelievably exclusive Mirandus mug. That's kind of fun.
Michael, show them yours a little close up, because they were saying that you didn't have a mug, so we got Michael the special mug.
Look, is it backwards?
No, it's good. He has the Mirandus, the only Mirandus master mug.
Jeez Louise, it was very special. One of one.
So it'll be cool. The way it'll work is you guys will basically win a code, and you guys will go to a website, and you will submit that code, and you'll be able to get the mug. You will have to pay for shipping, though. FYI. Just so you're prepared.
And if it's like you live in some unbelievably crazy place and you need me to Venmo you or something, man, let me know. All right. All right. That is what we got for Tavern Games, guys. Going live next week. We need your help. And the top 10 copper people on the leaderboard are going to get the mega exclusive mega mug. It's kind of fun. I love mine so much. Feels good. The quality is real nice. That company did a good job, dude. Yeah, pretty good job. Next, let us talk about Mirandus. The next tech test is coming, guys. And to say that we have built a ton since you last played, I think is a bit of an understatement. Everyone who played last time, we played the Goblin Meadows. In the Goblin Meadows, we were standing up some real basic fundamentals. We could shoot an arrow, which was great. That could strike an object and kill it. It was a goblin, but it was a goblin dummy. They didn't even notice you were there. They were just standing, wandering in a field. It was a very, very small field, maybe 100, 200 meters square little field that you could stand in. And I think we got about 75 to 100 people in it consistently. Does that sound about right, Chase?
Yeah, that's about it.
So that's what we had last time, guys. About 75 or so people in one little teeny zone shooting some goblin dummies. And I still liked it. It was still kind of fun, and it felt good to shoot those goblins. And we did have somebody shoot an unbelievable number of goblins. Who was that, Manuel? Who was that again?
The Goblin King.
The Goblin King. How many goblins did the Goblin King absolutely murder in that last demo?
We never revealed that number. Should we talk about that?
I think we should. We didn't do it just because there was quite a competition.
No, I didn't want to embarrass him because it was such an unbelievable number of arrows that the guy fired and hit a goblin with.
It's not embarrassing.
You want to take a guess?
Amazing.
It's an honor. Let's tag him right now on Discord.
Unbelievable.
Let's tag him in. Let's tag him and see if he wants to reveal. Goblin King, are you?
There he is. Punjab, right there.
Do you want to reveal the winning number?
No, you're wrong.
7,000.
10,500. You're off by almost 50%, man. It was 10,500. It's
Truly
unbelievable.
the Goblin King murderer. Insane.
Yeah,
Just
respect. It's
amazing.
all respect, man.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so we did that, guys. It was super fun. It's really cool, but for us to fulfill the promise of Mirandus, which is a big world that is open and you guys can explore it, there's a lot more foundational tech and features that we have to construct. And the tech is really what makes the game, guys. Without that, it just doesn't run. So let's have Jason walk through the amazing techie bits that we've been making for you guys for the past 6-7 months now, I think, right?
Yeah. So this after Goblin Meadows, the biggest lift that we wanted to accomplish was clearing out all of the bottlenecks that we knew were on the client. So there's a big chunk of that is just client stuff, and I'll run through some of that real quick. But let me make sure that I want to level set that we had 75 people concurrently, pretty much continuously for days and days and days last time. The reason we set it down that low is that there was some instability on the first part of the server, and that was just message handling, and we've solved a lot of those issues. We don't know how many players are going to be able to play now. We have hit it with bots with several hundred players, and it looks pretty solid. We don't know how long it'll run for. We've only tried to run it for a few days, and it seems like it runs pretty well. But what I will say is that we need you guys to come in and kick some wolf, deer, goblin, whatever else you can find, and just see what happens. We need to know where the things fall over so we can fix it. But one of the big things that we've done is we've added zones, multiple zones. The zones is basically like it's one area. So imagine Goblin Meadows, but you had a doorway and you can get out of it and go to a completely different area. Those are different servers, and we can actually start those up and shut them down independently. And if nobody's in a place, it goes into hibernation. So that's a big chunk of tech that we needed on the server side. But on the client side, one of the big things that we've done in the last 6 or 8 months, we now have motion matching on our players. So that's a huge lift from our animation team and Eric as well. Trying to get to the point of having our characters look as natural and real as possible. And it's not quite done, but we're making really good progress on it. I think you guys are going to be pretty impressed. So that's a big tech lift.
Why does it help to have motion matching, Jason?
So, okay, anybody who knows anything about animation knows that mocap looks freaking amazing, right? It looks human because it is a human. So that's not why we're doing this at all. So we still have monsters that do things that humans don't do. But what we do need is for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of monsters and players to be in the same zone at the same time. And in order for that to work, we need to be able to prioritize network traffic. And in order for us to be able to prioritize network traffic, that means we need to be able to drop some of it and maybe send some of it at less frequent intervals. So in order for that to really work, we need to be able to say, these characters are close to you. You need to get all their messages. These ones that are farther away will give you occasional updates. Motion matching lets us do that. So we can have the client kind of extrapolate how a person's supposed to be moving without having to send a bunch of network traffic to them. And that just kind of naturally falls out of the system. Almost any other animation system, you have to send a lot more traffic, and it's going to be really difficult to scale. And what we want is massive scale. And so we're selecting technologies that allow for that to happen. So that's motion matching. There's other stuff too. Like, for example, we actually split apart all of our backend server into multiple different processes that we can scale independently. Our NPCs run on a completely different program effectively, and we can have multiple of those running at the same time. That's more work that Eric's been working really hard on to make sure that they can basically round robin all the characters, all the monsters and things to different server processes. So if one of them bogs down, we can actually move them to different ones. And that's all new tech since Goblin Meadows came out. And similarly, we have the zone server that's doing just running the game rules, and then there's a simulation server that we haven't really got too much work into yet. But basically, being able to start up and shut down all these things independently and have them connect quickly, so that your load times are really short, has been really high priority for us. Recently, we've been working on GPU terrain instancing so that we can do things like 1 million blades of grass without slowing down, or we can have lots and lots of rocks and lots of shrubs and trees, but making that actually perform reasonably well on lower end hardware. We also, Brad did an amazing job on building this dual quaternion skinning compute shader for our players so that we can render characters in one draw call, or relatively close to one draw call. And that means you can switch all your gear, and it basically rebuilds a new mesh and then re-renders all of the new characters as they're supposed to look. But it doesn't impact.
You can have gear, switch it. That was exciting.
Oh yeah, having gear. Yeah, we have inventory now that you can actually change, and that means that you can switch gear. But it's not just like putting a sword in your hand. It's also like your armor is specific to your character and skins in with you, so it deforms as you move around. Lots of cool stuff involved in getting that working, but basically we had to build this system outside of Unity so that we could render 1,000 characters, including you and monsters, all in one frame, and do it at 60 frames a second. So really heavy lift on that tech side, but it's worth it. And once we have that cleared away, we have a better idea of what our budgets are for the environment, so that we know how many renders, how many draw calls they can get per frame, and how many different materials and things like that.
Jason,
and then
mention spatially bucketed culling systems with imposters for LODs.
You know, Michael, I haven't mentioned that, but I should mention that. Yeah, we have a spatially bucketed culling system with imposters for LOD. It's kind of amazing that this tech exists, but it doesn't exist in Unity by default. So we had to build that. Yeah, go figure. So we've built all kinds of stuff to make the game run faster on the client, so that as you're running through the Citadel with 1,000 of your closest friends, it doesn't bog down to 4 frames a second, because we're planning for that. We want you there. We want you to run around the Citadel with 1,000 of your closest friends.
Yeah, there's a lot of the tech that we put in. You want to go ahead, Eric, and talk about?
We have harvesting. We have some looting. We got some crafting stuff that's in there now too. That's worth talking about.
That's all on the sweet list coming up next. Don't steal my thunder, Eric.
Oh, come on.
But yeah, guys, the part of the the challenge of creating this game is to fulfill that promise, right? It's just not going to feel like you're in a Citadel or you're truly adventuring if you can't have that moment where hundreds of you are spilling over a hill against a monster. And we've always talked about that being something that was important to you guys and important to us. You feel like you're in a world when there's a ton of you all walking around trying to accomplish a goal. And so it's a lot more work to make that happen and make it happen with a high FPS. But we are on it. Last time, if you'll recall, and I mentioned this before, goblins didn't do anything but wander and stand there and get hit. But AI is now stood up. And Eric, can you talk about that?
Yeah, so like Mike said, we had super basic stuff, placeholder technology. It was running on an NPC server, which was a good first step, but it was extremely basic. What we were looking for at the time was, AIs understanding their space, being able to move around, being able to run a bit away from players, and hopefully not get slaughtered. But on our roadmap for this year was having a real framework in place for AI logic. So that involved building stuff out that we hadn't had before. So for example, everyone uses behavior trees, and we're going to do a lot more stuff with behavior trees, as well as neural network training a little bit later on. But behavior trees made it into the server, we have different logic for different NPCs running, and that's all data driven, which is pretty awesome. People can create all of our content in Unity and export anything that AIs need, and that gets digested and read in by the server, which is pretty cool. And one of the things Jason just talked about is that our servers are becoming fault tolerant. So if we can literally spool up new NPC servers as the zone's running and load balance all that running logic, the pathfinding that runs, all that good stuff. So you'll notice that NPCs, they have attack logic at this point. They have flee logic. They have some of the basic stuff in there right now. They can kill you. They do lots of damage. We have different skills per NPC. So we have different attacks from different ranges and all that good stuff. And we have some logic in there for keeping NPCs separated from each other, so they try not to clump up, and they try to basically have their own spaces. They fight and back up and move side to side to make space for one another. We have some disposition type of behavior where we have deer will have a preference to get away from wolves. We don't have NPCs fighting each other, so you won't see wolves attacking rabbits or anything like that. But they do like to have their own space, and they do like to kind of group up together. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's surprising. I was thinking about how fast that's come along. That's most of the things I've just talked about came online and started work in August. So there's a lot of new stuff going in there. We've busted our asses, I think, this last 6-8 months and over the whole year. But it's gonna, you're gonna see a lot of it. Yeah.
Our one of the pillars of our projects, guys, is we're trying to simulate this fantasy world. So it's a tremendous amount of work to get these first few creatures starting to perform some of the basics. They see you, they're mad at you, they want to run at you, they want to kill you. I think I saw today, Eric, that if they're smart enough, that they take enough damage, they want to run away. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's right.
Deer run away from you just in general. They don't want to hang out next to you. You're scary, and they kind of run away from you, and it's a little bit trickier to hunt them. So we're trying to stand up these core creatures and develop that system. And once that's in there, we start extending it. Like Eric was mentioning, we don't have great pack behavior. That's something we still need to get to. Ranged combat too. Right now they can see you, they can run at you. They'll be able to, attack you with a bite or a swing of a sword. But ranged combat is quite a bit trickier, and that's something that's still underway. So, what you see when you guys play is not indicative of the final, but it's proof that these systems are alive, and we now can extend them. And
AI takes a long time. I mean, just to be really honest, like it takes a really long time to make something that seems even slightly smart. And to try and build it in a very dynamic way is even more difficult. I think it has longer term benefits, but just getting to the point where, like, for example, being able to have ranged combat means that the AI needs to be able to see everything that you can see and knows all the things that are going to block their projectiles, whether it's an arrow or a spell or whatever. And we have to actually make all that work on the server. It doesn't have the benefit of seeing everything that you see exactly the same way. So there's a lot of work to be done there, and it's going to take a while, but just realize that we're making tremendous progress already.
And other things, we have done other things too, guys. What we're really trying to do with this next playtest is stand up a V1 of many of the systems in the game, such that we can give you a taste of the experience of Mirandus. Very small appetizer, if you will, as we continue to develop the grand main course. One of the things that we did not have before that we do have now is inventory. So I think it's actually an older image, but you know, we have a grid, and on this grid are things that you can craft and make in the world when you can equip those things. So when you equip them, you're dragging and dropping on a grid, but that's also sending a message to you, all of your friends who are playing, and you're actually visually updating the mesh as well. So when you equip leather armor, everyone's watching you, and suddenly leather armor is on your body. So that's a lot to stand up, and really makes it feel like a game, guys. You know, making an RPG, it's like the second you get paper doll and inventory working, it just starts to feel cool. Death. We have death in there now. Last time in Goblin Meadows, you know, you could shoot goblins, but of course they would just stand there. But another big lift for us was the fact that things could attack you, your hit points could reach 0, and at that point you would die. And as a reminder, hashtag make Mirandus hard. You know, this demo is going to be very challenging. If you die, we always wanted death to be meaningful and heroes to be heroes. And there's a lot of other game that we need to stand up to tie all of that together. But for the sake of this demo, hashtag make Mirandus hard, if you die, you're dead. You are dead, and you will need to start all over, fresh and new. So walk around the world and be real careful. I suggest being with people. That's going to really help too. Coordinate amongst yourselves. Trying to solo this is going to be super hard. So we think it's kind of a fun little challenge for the demo for you to stay alive and see if you can make it. We also have harvestables. So harvestables is something that we didn't have previously, and I think we've got a little bit of a thing of that. There's things in the world that you are going to want and need to collect to survive and to craft in better and better gear and equipment. So here we're showing pine, we're showing flax, wheat. You'll be able to collect that stuff. That'll be in your inventory, and you will be able to craft that into superior things. One thing that is not in the demo, which just is going to take another few more months to really get right, is state changes for these objects. So you'll notice that you can get kind of pine or flax or wheat infinitely. You know, there's a little bit of a harvest pause there and some audio and stuff, but it's not going to go away. And that's something we really want to get to next. In the next demo, you'll be seeing that, because that creates a lot more scarcity in the environment. But yeah, you can walk around and you can get stuff, and you'll need that stuff. And you'll need that stuff because now we have crafting. We now have crafting, guys. You can walk up to some of our little 5x5 stands and tents, and there'll be different things that you can craft. You can upgrade your armor. You can upgrade, you know, get a superior bow. You can, as you push deeper in the world, collect more resources that are just plain harder to get, and be able to craft better swords and weaponry. I think for this demo, brigandine armor is the best that we're going to have. But, you know, a lot to stand up here, right? It's like we need to know what's in your inventory. We need to give you recipes. And it's not just giving you recipes, guys. We have to data drive this behind the scenes. We have to have CSV files that list what all the recipes are, what the inputs are, what the outputs are. We need to display to you what you have in your inventory, so you know you just need 2 more of this for you to craft it. So crafting is here. Again, just foundational, built, running on the server and on the client. You can now craft. That's huge. Looting. Looting is here now. So yes, you can kill stuff. And when you kill stuff, you will be able to get stuff. Now, don't look at that box. It drives me freaking batshit crazy. When you kill something, you are not going to see a spinning box in the world of Mirandus. I hate that. But, you know, for the sake of us standing it up, we needed a box, something you can cast a ray into to know that you can loot this thing. So loot, you know, we actually like the idea more that, you know, if you were to kill a deer, you can walk up, you can loot it, and then you'll get the stuff. And then the deer would change state, maybe to it's been scanned, it'll look more like a carcass or a skeleton. We want to try to get to that. But I really hate spinny boxes. They drive me nuts. Although people on this call don't feel as strongly about this as I do. But
All I'm going to say is that cubes are really easy for me to model.
All right. Loot, guys, by the way, is something we have talked about a ton. I think it's one of the most sensitive issues that we might have on the project. We really have to get this right. What I mean is you've killed something. Who gets what? Who gets the loot? That's a tough one, right? And I mean, you can imagine all of the conversations and things that we're having to spin around to get this right. It's going to take a long time to get right. And I'm really going to need your guys' help to make sure that it's a system that you guys think is fair. Every game does it a little differently. For the sake of this demo, just so you know, no PvP, Captain Nero. We're still players versus all the beasts and evil in the world. But that's an incredibly big part of this, right? If someone steals your loot and it's a PvP game, then you kill them. And that all makes sense, right? But I don't think, as we've been discussing this with you guys too, that you want to be able to be killed Ultima Online style, get that lightning bolt when you walk out of town, and have all your stuff taken. Then honestly, I'm not even sure how we'd take stuff from you if it's in your wallet, because that'd be a wallet-to-wallet transaction and would require you to, be okay with that, with it even happening. So we like the idea that this is kind of, Mirandus exemplars against the evil of the world. How does that change the loot system? What does it mean to contribute to combat? Just know that we take these things really serious, guys, and we will include you in that conversation to make sure that we get it right. But for this demo, what is going to happen is if you kill something and you have contributed, quote unquote, in combat, then you will be able to loot it. So we've had to just stand up this basic tech. If you kill something and you did some damage to that creature at all, you will have the right to loot it. And the first person that goes up and taps on it gets the stuff. Luckily, creatures will respawn and there'll be enough items for everyone to get from the environment, but know that it's not the final vision of loot in our game. That's super sensitive. We've had so many great conversations about that. So next we have other stuff, and they all kind of tie together, and Dawn is the perfect human to speak to such things.
Yeah, so we've been, as you can see, working really hard on kind of the core loop of our game, getting it stood up, trying to nail the most fun parts of that. And, we're playing the game constantly at this point. We're trying to really find a good balance for everything and really having a blast doing it. And, one of the aspects we're kind of looking at pretty closely right now is our energy mechanic. So we want this game to feel like a real adventure as much as possible. And no adventuring can be an endless run into the unknown. We don't want you going out there, forever. Without any sort of limitations. So energy in Mirandus can be thought of as your character's sort of gas tank. And harvesting, attacking, sprinting, even crafting will use up that gas. If you get too tired, you'll be limited to a slow walk, maybe more punishing beyond that, but we'll start there. And in this kind of exhausted and starving state, you're going to lose small amounts of health as well. So you really don't want to get to a point where you're completely out of gas. So what would you do if you kind of got to that state and you wanted to top off your tank? So you'd head to your nearest tavern. You'd sit down to a delicious trencher. Any kind of hot meal in town is going to greatly recover your energy. We really want people to kind of get in that loop of going out, doing your adventure, coming back, having a meal, crafting, camaraderie, all that fun stuff. That's also going to allow you, while in town, to craft, small bits of bread, jerky, kind of travel food. But these are all going to boost your energy a small amount. They're just going to get you by. We really want you to kind of come back and have that full meal. So let's talk health for a second as well. So make Mirandus hard, right? Mirandus is a challenging, dangerous world. You're going to take damage. You're going to take a lot of it. And to get that lost health back, you're going to need to find lodging. And, from the smallest tent to, the grandest inn, some quality rest at any kind of player-run lodging is going to restore your vitality super fast. That's kind of your loop. Take the damage, find lodging. So we really want to see kind of where people put that lodging. You know, the placement of these buildings is going to be a crucial part of the experience, and we're really looking forward to see like what kind of spots people pick and what kind of movement we see based on that. So I think health is going to be obviously very critical for your gameplay, and you want to be also thinking about, as a building owner, where do people want to have health? And so that'll be part of your choice there. The last thing I want to touch on briefly is a small part of the combat experience: weapons. And so we love the idea of all of our items having a ton of value. So rather than a sword just being kind of a hunk of metal, we take the concept that it is a set of abilities and skills as well that makes it unique. So the more rare an item is, the higher variety of abilities you can do with it. So as high as 5 for the ancients. Players can also have up to 3 weapons equipped and at the ready at any time, but only 1 active at any given time. So this sets up an amazing amount of interesting choices and combinations for how you arm your exemplar. And we really strongly believe that it makes the crafting and economy side have a ton of depth. Weapons and Mirandus are more than just stats. They're a package of gameplay, and that'll lead to a lot of interesting gameplay.
I think one of the things that I love about being able to present all this stuff to you guys is that, I know one of the things that you've been asking us for is meat on the bone. We've got some graphics and, hey, it looks like the sun's setting. Yeah, that is not a game. We are building the game. Just want you guys to know that. And, we're standing up these systems. We're standing up basic stats. We've got some incredible stuff in the works. So, you're going to see some really basic V1 stuff in this next demo, but it will be a pretty good representative slice of many of the actions and things that you can do in the final game. And that's kind of our goal. Typically in game development, guys, you'll hear it called, standing up the core loops and the secondary loops. And until you get all that stuff stood up and you can actually play it all together, you don't really know how the game is going to be and feel. So I feel like, and I'd be interested if Jason, Eric, and Don and Manuel feel this way, but I feel like I'm starting to get a glimpse of what it's going to be like to play Mirandus. And that makes me very excited.
I'm borderline addicted already. I play a good 3 hours a day at this point.
Last Friday, didn't we all jump in and play for like 2.5, 3 hours? It was a ridiculously long play session, but as we were running around, I crafted my very first everything. I hadn't really sat down and just played it. And oh my gosh, the designers just kicked my butt. They ran through and just grabbed all the stuff and crafted, because they've already done it 50 times. But for me, it was like, where do I find the yew tree?
We're not telling you, we're not telling anyone. This next demo, guys, starts with you on the docks. You are exemplars arriving into this world, and there is no instructions and no spoilers about what is here, what you can craft. Other than kind of what you're seeing today, these are your glimpses. When the demo goes live, it's going to be really cool to see if you guys can figure out the puzzle, how to upgrade your gear, where to find resources, and how to be safe out there without dying. So we think that'll be pretty cool. Another thing that I know you guys are very interested in are what are the rewards for the next play test. And we're still trying to get that list together for you. I know it's really fun for you guys to get something every time you help us test. I know it's fun just to play the game, but it's fun to get little things too. And to do that, we really need to track the data correctly. And I think there's 3 things that we're looking to track broadly. One is the first to do something. One is the person who did something the most, or the people that did something the most. And then maybe a category for, you did a thing at all. So we're trying to slice that up and come up with, maybe 10 things, and with different awards in those tiers, and likely some fun little things. We really like the idea that the first person to kill the boss monster of the zone gets like a cool maybe card for the deck of time or something like a 1 of 1. There is only one. That might be pretty sweet. So anyway, guys, we're still working on exactly what those awards will be, and we'll get that out to you when we have information. But yeah, I think that's it. Was that cool? I'm watching Mirandus discussion on Discord. That good, guys? I know you've wanted some meat on the bone. Are you feeling the meat now?
Are you not entertained?
Yes, Captain Nero. You do not start with a weapon at all. Checking to see if any more questions about the playtest, guys, specifically. But yeah, Captain Nero, you start with nothing, no weapons at all.
Stay tuned, guys. After this is over, I'll be kind of doing an overview of everything that they revealed and sharing some of my thoughts on what they talked about here. But let's listen to the rest of this AMA as they answer some of the player questions.
Cool, guys. I'm very glad. Chat system in the demo subspace. No, that is not in there. We have massive plans for how that is going to work, but that is not in this demo.
Do we want to talk about that? I can fill a minute.
We've talked about it before a little bit, Jace, but why don't you go ahead really quick and talk about the voice system, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, so one of the guys we stole from, moved from Gala Music over to our team is an expert in artificial intelligence and also in sound and audio processing. So Rockstar Barry is pretty amazing, and what he's been doing is basically plowing through research and hooking up a bunch of tests to try and figure out if we could do what we think we can do, and I'm pretty confident that we'll get there. But basically what it does is it takes in your voice from the microphone, it processes it down, and then transmits it over the internet to all of the people who are standing nearby you. And when that happens, it comes out of your exemplar's mouth sounding like that exemplar, not like you, but like the elf that you're playing or the dwarf that you're playing or whatever. And in practice, we haven't got all of this stuff hooked up yet. It's going to be a little bit. But the whole point is positional audio so that you can have conversations with people. You can sit around a tavern. Like, we're literally going to use the tavern games as the test bed for a lot of this code to set up the ability for you to sit there and talk to people and trash talk them when you take all their money with Three-Eyed Snake. So like that's where we're going to do a lot of this work, but it's eventually going to be rolled into Mirandus, and you'll be able to walk around and coordinate with people. And by the way, monsters will be able to hear you too. So you might want to think about that.
Yeah, if you're yelling and screaming, you'll get a Leroy Jenkins moment for sure, which will be sweet. Will there be Materium? Everyone's asking the same question. Will there be Materium? We are planning some Materium drops for not drops, but if think of it like if some things are killed, we will know, and we want to give you guys some awards on that front. We want little fun NFT awards. We've even talked about getting like an image made or printed and framed for you guys. Would you want something physical like that we could send to you, like one of the cool concept art images that Hugo made, or would that be cool? Typing, checking.
I have a feeling, guys, that the
Yes.
Materium
We're a bit of a
payouts are going to be
delay.
less. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that's just the vibe that I'm getting.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hearing there's about 30 to 60 seconds of delay, guys. So, yeah, you're looking at it. Lucky Canadian wants my mug. That's cool. We might have to get rid of that at some point. Might have to let somebody else have my mug. My one of ones. Yeah, so some in real life stuff would be cool. Some NFTs would be cool. The deck of time is pretty legit. You can see those cards rearing their heads. Just know that that's all leading up to something as well. So I think if we had a very limited release, like the first person to do X, Y, or Z, getting some of those cards would be pretty sweet. seeing people asking about deeds and buildings in this demo. So no, we will not have deed and building placement in this demo. That's a next thing that we need to work on and get that cooking for this year. But what we did try to do in this zone and in the Citadel was simulate some buildings being placed to give you guys a sense of what it would feel like to be in a town. Functional buildings that we have in this demo are a few tents. I think we have 6 or 7 tents where you can craft something, Don, is that right?
There's going to be kind of spread out throughout the world, yeah, about 6 or 7. And then, of course, there's the town.
Types of tents, we mean, guys, where you can craft something. And then we're going to have one interior building. And this is stuff we have to build for the first time, guys. Like, you have to build a building, walk into that building, and start looking at what it means for doing interiors, the size, the space, the feel of interiors. Is there anything technically that we need to do to the exterior of that building to increase performance? So we're standing up that stuff. So we have a tavern that you can walk into and kind of walk around, which is cool. And we have some tents where something can be crafted. And then out in the land sprinkled around, you'll see some outposts or a homestead, a few little things placed that can give you a sense of what it would be like to slap your deed down and get some buildings on it. But we're not allowing that functionality for this because we still need to build that. Any other questions? Thoughts? We're getting kind of to it. Let me scroll. Exalted wants to know, will there be any rewards for just participating? That's kind of falls into that data bucket, Exalted, where, again, like we're building the system such that this data can be tracked and stored and saved and recovered. So we need to build that system out and make sure it's working and then see how we want to slice up the those kind of events or game actions that you can perform and what awards there'll be. So give us a second to figure that out, and then we'll propose a list to you guys.
Rusty Spork asked, who is the best pirate? I think that's a gimme, right?
I mean, are we proposing that Captain Nero isn't?
I don't want to walk the plank.
There's gonna be a 30-second delay explosion on this.
They're having fun with the community now. All right. I'm gonna keep tuned. You guys want me to start sharing my thoughts here, or see if they say anything else interesting?
Evil elves are you? Are you guys evil? Is the question. It's actually funny. This came up today. We were talking about some of the background lore and narrative, and one of the questions and topics that came up was evil. And I really don't want Mirandus to be this world that's just, oh, that stuff's evil. I want it to be a world where it's like the stage is set, and what you guys do with it will be a bit of your own. I think evil players are going to want to act in evil ways, and I think other players will act in benevolent, loving ways. And maybe there'll be this incredible competition in between them. I don't know. Again, guys, we're just setting the stage of this world. We're building it out, and what you guys do with it is your own. That's always been a part of the vision that I think excited us as players, and we think you guys too. So anyway, guys, we're going to log off. I hope that was cool. We need to get back to work because the Tavern Games test is next week. And then the Mirandus test will likely be the end of March. But if we find any bugs or need to fix something, well, we're going at it as fast as we can. We think it's looking pretty solid. But if we uncover something, we might need to put a little bit more time into it. But we're still targeting Q1 like we promised, guys.
Anything that happens in Tavern Games that pushes out our timeline, you'll know. You'll know during Tavern Games. Because everything that happens there is going to happen to Mirandus.
Yeah, so if Tavern Games is feeling pretty solid, then we'll feel solid that people are coming into the world, they're logging on, they're getting to a zone, quote unquote, they're performing actions. So that's That's why Tavern Games is so important, guys. If you could come in and help us test it, besides the fact that you'll get a sweet mug, you're just helping. You're helping in the most unbelievable way, as always, guys. So thank you, everybody, so much. And we're going to get back to it. And I hope to see you in the tavern next week.
Alrighty, guys. That was such a information-packed AMA there. So I want to quickly go over some of my biggest highlights, some of the biggest takeaways that I got from that. I have a whole page, like a bunch of notes here. You guys saw me taking them. But just going back to what I said I was looking for out at the beginning, starting off with release date, we definitely did not get a release date for the full game. Nothing even close to a full release date for the full game. But we did get a lot of information on the progress that's happening, and the progress is definitely strong. But just as someone outside who just watched that and who's been following this progress for the last 2 years, if I had to give a date just based off of this information from this AMA and the information that I knew beforehand, I would say it's like full game with blockchain turned on is definitely more than 2 years away. Just being completely honest, that's my guess. I'm not on the inside here, but that's my guess. But then going to the next stuff, we did learn a lot of good information. Let's see if I can pull up this scene. There we go. We did learn a lot of good information regarding this. So you will need an exemplar to play, but they did not give us the date that you're going to need to own an exemplar by. There is going to be earning. The quest is going to be really hard. And if you die during the quest, it's over for you. That's it. You have to start from scratch. So make Mirandus hard is definitely true in this playtest. And then there will be Materium payouts, but they did not say what they're going to be. So like literally we're kind of still in the dark. I'm not going to lie. I did go and buy a bunch of exemplars. Because I'm like, man, they're going to announce that like, the payouts end up being the same as before and the exemplars are going to go up. But it sounds like that might not actually be the case. I'm still going to hold on my exemplars. I really want to be able to rent out exemplars when the game finally releases. But it doesn't. I mean, it's sounding like it's probably not going to be a type of situation like the previous playtests where just like if you log in with one exemplar, you get a payout for all of the exemplars that you own. It didn't sound like that seemed exciting to them, because if we go down, like I have so many notes here, but if we go down to where they're talking specifically about the Mirandus main game, so they talked about tons of improvements. Is an understatement. They said that the last playtest, Goblin Meadows, was very simple, and you could only shoot goblins in a small field. It could only fit 75 to 100 people. But there was a hardcore goblin slayer that killed 10,500 goblins. But they said that the Promise of Mirandus requires a lot more tech than was shown off before. So they talked about a lot of this new tech. I'm not going to go like super into detail on like that side of it because I just don't understand it fully. But essentially, what you need, the takeaway from it is it's going to allow Mirandus to scale. They're doing this right from the beginning because they've made literally between this team hundreds of games before this. So they know how to make a game that can scale. But then I know I'm trying to get back to the payout thing because that's what I went to this first. So let's go down a little bit more here. Oh yeah, AI goblins. I want to come back to this AI. But they were talking about, McCarthy was talking about how, here we go, rewards for the next play test. Still working on putting that list together, but there are 3 things they want to track for the rewards. So the fact that they're tracking these 3 things, this is very different from last play tests, and makes me feel like it's going to be based, like how much you earn is going to be based on this. So whether you're the first to do something, they want to reward. This was in the context of rewards. Whether you're the most to do something they want to reward, and then if you do anything at all. So maybe this third one still actually opens up the door that just like anyone who logs in, you get a payout for all your playtests. But yeah, very, very interesting. But now, guys, we have to talk about this. We have to talk about this because this is crazy. AI enemies inside of Mirandus. Like, this makes complete sense, right? So they said they started standing up the AI. So in this playtest, NPCs are going to have attack logic, can kill you, can do lots of damage to you. And if you die, you're dead, you have to start over. Have different skills that they can use, different attacks from different ranges. They added logic to for keeping them separate. Stuff like deer will run away from wolves. And essentially they said like that most games have logic. But now what they're going to be doing in this game is they're going to be taking the NPCs to the next level by having them train with neural networks, like how Tesla trains full self-driving or OpenAI has trained ChatGPT. Neural networks for the enemies. So say you beat an enemy, it's going to learn from the way that you beat it, get smarter, and be harder to kill next time. Like this... No, it's like, I can't even express all of the ways where Mirandus is trying to like change gaming forever. I mean, the biggest one that I'm focused on chain gaming is real player ownership inside this world, right? Like a real player owned game with a free market economy is just so exciting. But then if they're going to start integrating AI, artificially intelligent NPCs and stuff in the world, that's also going to make the world come alive more. And then they didn't mention it in this playtest, but they have talked about how once the game is fully released and they're talking about expansions, more stuff along those lines, one thing they want to do is make this game playable in virtual reality as well eventually. So just absolutely crazy. So what were your guys' thoughts? I'm curious to see how you guys took this playtest here, or sorry, this AMA about this playtest. Materium can reach $100. I don't want to get into that. I should be able to talk about Materium. Okay, guys, this is how I feel. I should be able to talk about Materium. I should be able to talk about prices and what I think about the future and give my honest opinions about this stuff. But because Materium is such a small market cap, and my talking about the coin last time literally moved the market cap by 50%, Gala got super pissed off at me. They sent me a takedown request on the video talking about myself buying 1% of Materium. So I don't know if I should talk about my, like, I feel like I can't share my honest opinions, about this. But we're gonna work through it. I'm thinking about maybe making on-chain gaming no longer sponsored by any crypto gaming companies long-term, so that you guys can know I'm honest about like my real feelings about this space and how I feel about all the games. So I don't know. I think that might be a good long-term move. It would really hurt us short-term, but having no sponsors from any Web3 games, I think would make on-chain gaming the most trusted source in this space. So that's something I've been considering based on the fact that I can't share my honest thoughts about a freaking coin that I love. So I'm thinking about it. So yeah, sorry, I can't answer that question. Someone said, I was thinking the party, oh, this is an idea for loot. Okay, yeah, so that's one thing we can talk about a little bit. So in this AMA, they mentioned a lot about loot because they really want the loot system in this game to be really, really good. Because remember, what you're looting has real value. So this isn't like World of Warcraft, where, trust me, if someone steals your loot in an MMO, a traditional Web2 MMO, you still get pissed off. But if someone steals your loot after you do a bunch of work, especially if you're burning Materium to cast spells, and like you're investing in this kill, right? You're burning cryptocurrency, and then someone comes and takes your sweet loot that has real value. Oh, and there's no PvP, you can't kill that guy. That would be like so angering. Infuriating is the word I was looking for. So they're really trying to make sure that they set up loot well. But let's talk about some of the stuff that they said is 100% going to be set up in this next playtest. So the goal for this playtest is set up a version 1 of many of the systems in the game so that we can get a small taste of Mirandus. So essentially it's like, let's set up the basics of a lot of what we want. So this is far from how it's going to feel like the final versions of any of these systems, but at least we can start seeing how like some of the systems that are going to be in the game, how they're going to feel. So there's the full inventory that they showed us is super cool. The inventory is going to update on your mesh player for everyone else to see as you're dragging and dropping in your inventory grid. So that's a really big thing to add to this playtest. That's awesome. Makes it really sort of feel like an RPG, they said. This new playtest will have death. We've talked about that a little bit. If you die, you die. It's over, baby. You got to start over from scratch. He suggested, this is really exciting. This is something we have not seen in any previous playtest. He suggested playing with other people if you want to beat this playtest. Because the other playtests weren't really a game, you didn't really have to work with other people. So this is going to be the first one that actually feels like an MMO where you have teammates, you're a part of a world where you need to work together with the other people that live in the world. Super cool. To beat the demo, you must stay alive. There's going to be harvesting in the demo, and you're going to need a harvest because you're going to be crafting your weapons and stuff. They said you're going to start with nothing in this demo. You're going to start with absolutely nothing, and you're going to have to craft from zero, kind of like Minecraft. If you want a weapon, well, first you got to gather the basics for the tools to make the weapon. Like, this is cool. This is going to really start to feel like Mirandus. Oh yeah, they showed us some visuals, and I just freaked out. Just really looking good. I'm going to have to show some of that off. Click back in the live stream if you want to see some of that. Let's see. Version 1 of crafting is enabled in the new playtest. For example, you can upgrade armor, upgrade your bow, get better sword. Looting is here. So the stuff that we kill in this playtest, we are going to be able to loot. But the looting system is not set up like it's going to be set up in the final game. We already talked about that a little bit. There is no PvP in this demo. Anyone, I think, that's contributed to a kill is going to be able to loot. Anyone who does damage is what they're talking about contributing, so they're not talking about healing or anything like that. And then let's see. Oh, yeah, they got an Bethesda. They didn't actually talk about that, but Don is ex-Bethesda, and he was talking about like the energy mechanics. Guys, energy mechanics are going to be so big in this game because players running out of energy and needing new energy is going to be one of the massive drivers of the entire player economy. I own like 15 taverns or something in the world of Mirandus. The only way I'm going to have business is if players playing the game need to come eat. So this is a really important mechanic because it needs to be set up in a way that drives the player economy, continues to keep it moving along with the consumption, but set up in a way that doesn't ruin the player experience. It needs to be additive to the player experience, not take away from it. The game needs to be fun first and foremost. So sprinting, crafting, and more will use energy, and once the energy is gone, you're gonna lose health over time. So it's gonna be crazy to see how energy starts working in this playtest, but once again, they said over and over and over again, this is an example of how how they're building it out. This is not a final product. So, oh my gosh, so much cool stuff. I did think you might be able to place buildings in this playtest, but that's not how it's going to work. But you are going to be able to use buildings, and they're going to have an outpost and a farming hamlet set up. So that should be really, really cool. So, I want to show off this last thing because it sounds like they're making Materium more and more rare. It's going to be scarcer and scarcer and harder to get over time, which is why I'm personally really not worried about the fully diluted valuation. I don't think we're going to get even close to that just based on how they've been talking about this. But just look at this from the website, how they are trying to attract people to this world. Revealed to one of the great kings by a mysterious visitor, Materium has caused exemplars, the greatest heroes of the land, and others to travel to the Mirandus shores in search of this miraculous substance. Materium is the whole reason why people are coming to this world. Players are staking their claim and purchasing deeds to own towns, cities, and citadels. Each one is seeking to secure a foothold on Mirandus, where Materium, the very power of magic, abounds. So this is why people are coming to Mirandus. Materium, they're gonna be holding tight onto Materium. I feel it. Will you be amongst the few? So yeah, guys, if you want to learn more about Mirandus, I have all of the links in the description. But there's also a big AMA here. I know one of the biggest questions people have about Mirandus always is, will it be free to play? And what it says here is you must have an exemplar to play Mirandus, and you must have an exemplar to play the playtests, no different, but the game will not have a monthly subscription model. So essentially, you need to own a character to be in the world. Like if you don't have a character, you can't exist in the world, but there's no monthly subscription models or anything like that. Like, this game is just going to exist as a real economy. So if you want something, you're going to have to pay for it. And if you earn something in a quest, you can sell it. So it's just really cool what they're setting up here. But there you have it, guys. If you enjoyed this little overview of this AMA and me kind of taking notes while we learn what's going on here, then remember to drop big thumbs ups on this playtest or on this video, on this live stream. It really helps us out, and it will help other people find this super informative video if they want to learn more about Mirandus. And then also, if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you're hitting subscribe and clicking that bell notification. On-Chain Gaming is going to have so much Mirandus content coming in the future. So thanks all for hanging out. I will see you all in the Tavern playtest next week. I'll probably stream that, so see you guys live for that. And then I'll see you guys at the end of March for what we're all waiting for, the next big look at what I think is going to be a world-changing MMORPG. So thanks for watching, everyone. Till next time, have fun roaming the metaverse.